have a job that causes me to travel a lot on business trips for the company. It's not a bad job, as it's always something new, and the company pays for all of the expenses. But on a recent trip, the experience that I had was downright terrifying. I was traveling alone. Sometimes I'd go on trips with work colleagues, but on this occasion, it was a trip I'd been sent on alone. I had not long checked into my hotel and got to my room. As I sorted my belongings, I put my work laptop out, but couldn't really be bothered to do much work at the time, so I tried to relax. Becoming bored and hungry as I hadn't eaten much that day, I decided to go out to find somewhere to eat. Not venturing too far from the hotel as I was in a city I was unfamiliar with, I ended up finding a nice, quaint Italian spot. Ordering myself a carbonara, and I have to say, I was impressed with the food and the depth of the flavour it had, and the fact it was paid for by the company probably made it taste better. Travelling alone can be boring, and to be fair, sometimes lonely. So after eating, I didn't fancy just heading back to the room and calling it a night, so I decided I would check out the hotel bar and have a few drinks. I thought, why not? Having a drink would be a good way to wind down. I ordered myself a whiskey on the rocks as I sat observing the crowd around me. People laughing, people obviously on trips, and as I continued to scan the crowd, it was then I noticed a woman sitting alone, staring at me. As we made eye contact, she smiled. I smiled back, just thinking she was being friendly and waiting for someone. So I turned away and ordered another drink. She was an attractive woman, slim, blonde, and had a beautiful smile. Unable to stop myself, I looked back over to her, and to my surprise, she was still staring at me. I don't know what came over me, but I decided to grab my drink and head over to her. Approaching, I could feel the nerves kicking in and the butterflies in my stomach. I arrived at her table and introduced myself. She smiled and replied she said her name was Olivia, as she blushed, saying she wasn't used to guys approaching her. I asked if she was waiting for anyone, but to my surprise she said she was alone, that she was visiting on a works trip. Instantly, we had something in common. She asked if I wanted to join her for a drink, and of course I obliged. As the evening went on, the conversation with Olivia was amazing. She was so easy to talk to, and we shared a lot of interests. As the drinks went down, our conversation became progressively more flirtatious, and I couldn't believe she was into me. It was then her foot brushed my leg, and she said it wasn't like her to do this, but did we want to take this to the room? I couldn't believe it. I knew I shouldn't for certain reasons, but being in the moment, I said yes, and with that we headed to my room. As we reached the room, and I opened the door, it was then Olivia pushed me through, kissing me as we moved to the bedroom. She pushed me down onto the bed as she continued to kiss me, before stopping, as she said she was just going to go to the bathroom and get more comfortable, and that I should pour us some more drinks from the minibar, as she winked and headed to the bathroom. I was amazed with what was happening, as I went over to the minibar to get out a few drinks. It was then I heard a knock at the front door, and the door unlocked. As I turned and looked out to see what was going on, it was then I saw Olivia holding the front door open, and to my horror, 2 masked figures entered the room. My heart sank as a ball of fear built up in the pit of my stomach as I saw the half-apologetic smile displayed on Olivia's face as she looked at me. I instantly knew what this was. Froze to the spot, one hooded figure ran over to me, waving a gun in my face as they said,
"Get the fuck down and tell us where your wallet is."
As the other masked figure searched around the room for valuables. I stuttered, as I was in a sheer panic, which the intruder clearly didn't like, as he struck me in the face with the base of his gun. I dropped to the floor, clutching my nose as a bolt of pain spread through my face. Then the man shouted,
"Where is it, motherfucker? Delay again and the next time it'll be a bullet."
This scared the shit out of me. I was trapped. I had no way out or couldn't signal for help. I threw my wallet out of my pocket to his feet as the other figure came and picked it up, the whole time the other intruder aiming the gun at me, making sure I didn't move. After an agonizing few minutes that felt like forever, they had all they wanted, turning my room upside down like a pack of wolves searching for scraps before demanding I get in the bathroom. As I did at gunpoint, I was told to get on my knees as I heard the gun click behind me. I thought that was it, as tears rolled down my face. I felt physically sick as my heart felt like it was going to beat out of my chest. Then there was a bang, but not a gunshot one. It was the intruders shouting bang that scared the shit out of me, as I heard them laugh behind me. And just like that, they left with Olivia, who before leaving kindly said, "It's nothing personal," as they locked me in the bathroom from the outside. Sitting there contemplating what had happened to me, I felt so vulnerable, so low, how everything had happened so fast. It took me a few minutes to get the door open to the bathroom and see. They had taken my wallet with my money and cards in, my work laptop, my phone and even my watch. They had rinsed me for everything. I called the desk and reported the robbery and assault. When the police arrived, they were obviously long gone. I gave my statement and managed to get in touch with the card companies to cancel my cards not before money had been taken. That night was the scariest night of my life, and I couldn't believe I'd got myself into that situation. Meeting a beautiful woman at the bar alone and not thinking clearly cost me, and I'll never make that mistake again. I couldn't bring myself to tell work or my family the truth of what happened, where the money had gone, my belongings along with the black eyes I sustained. So, the secret still eats away at me. It's safe to say, I never talk to people sitting alone at hotel bars anymore. Be safe out there, and don't be as gullible as me. This event happened back in summer 2018, and has since stuck with me as one of the scariest nights I've ever experienced. I was travelling back home with my girlfriend. We had been away for a long weekend for my brother's wedding, which had ended up being an incredible and emotional weekend. We had decided to road trip our journey and spend some quality time together, to get the most enjoyment out of the trip. On the way back home, it was late at night. We were on the highway, and there were barely any other cars in sight. I was tired from all the driving that I'd already done, as it was a long trip. As soon as we got off the highway and made a turn onto another road, the absence of light made the road almost pitch black. I put our full beam on, and we continued our journey. I was going at some speed as the road was dead, when suddenly another car came up in front of us. It was going at a very steady pace, that slow that I had approached it fast, and was lucky to see it instead of crashing into it. It was crawling at a snail's pace, literally the whole open road in front of it, yet it was travelling so slow, like it was doing it on purpose. I got restless, as this was under half the speed limit, and at this point I didn't want to be stuck on the road for hours, so I took the opportunity to overtake the car. As I passed, I couldn't help but honk my horn to let the driver know of their inconvenience, as I took it over, pulling back on the road in front of it, getting back to normal speed, and continuing on our way. But as soon as I did this, and we were out of sight, the driver behind us, out of nowhere, caught up to us and flashed its light, honking their horn loudly, as it had picked up speed to a point it was right behind us, bumper to bumper. They kept their full beam on, making it difficult for me to see through the rearview mirror. The car forcefully took us over and sped past, cutting right in front of us as it broke, causing me to brake hard, slamming on the brakes. Disappearing from our sight, the car sped off. My girlfriend and, in all fairness, myself, were quite understandably shaken up by the events, and still had a long way to go to get home. So, with it being late, and considering what just happened, we decided to stop at a motel nearby, and stay for the night to get some rest. We planned to continue our journey the next morning. On reflection, I shouldn't have beeped my horn, but there was no need for that type of retaliation from that creep. After booking into a motel, we headed to our room. It was your basic motel, just a simple room, nothing special, pretty old-fashioned, just somewhere to put our head down for the night. Looking around, it was very quiet. Not many guests looked to be staying there. So, we settled in for the night, finally having calmed down from what had happened. It must have been around 1 a.m. when we both woke up to the sound of a loud knocking on the door. Surprised as to who it could have been knocking on our room, I got up and opened the door. As I did, there was no one there. Confused, I shut the door and began to walk back to our bed. As I lay back down, there was then heavy pounding on the door once again. I ran back and hurriedly opened the door, but again, there was no one. I didn't get how someone could disappear out of sight that fast, so I even checked the lot out front. Not a soul was in sight. It was then, however, when I was checking the lot, I recognized the car that was parked out front. A knot built up in my stomach as I could clearly see that it was the same car we had passed and that had tailgated us earlier that night. No one was in it. I slowly entered back into our room and shut the door. Not wanting to mention it to my girlfriend, knowing that it would only freak her out, I decided to call the front desk. The motel staff soon answered. I told the receptionist that I believed someone was pranking us and had been knocking on our door. They promised to check it out. After around 5 minutes, I looked back out into the lot. The car was nowhere in sight. To be honest, I felt relieved as I was sure it was the same person from earlier and feared it was them at the door. I, obviously, couldn't sleep well after that, so I let my girlfriend sleep whilst I lay there thinking. Some time passed, and I must have drifted off myself as I was awoken to the scream of my girlfriend and fear running through my veins. What woke us was the sound of smashing glass tearing through the night as a brick had crashed through the window and landed on the wooden flooring with a loud thud. Without a second to waste, I rushed to the door and opened it. Once again, there was no one there. I scanned the immediate vicinity of our room, but saw nothing. As I turned back to check on my girlfriend, it was then that I saw it. Pinned to the outside of the door to our room, there was a mangled animal carcass, dripping with blood. I backed up as my girlfriend saw this and began to cry. My heel kicked the brick that had been thrown through the window as I looked down and saw it was wrapped in something. As I picked it up, my heart now thumping in my throat, I unwrapped the brick to reveal paper that contained 3 simple words, wrote in what seemed to be the blood of the animal, and in all honesty, scared the crap out of me. I'll get you. My eyes widened as I looked back out front to an empty lot. We were beyond terrified and reported it to the front desk and the police instantly. I told them everything that happened that night, involving the car we overtook and the fact that I had saw the same car at the motel, believing it had followed us and was the same person who had done this. They investigated the matter, but didn't really get anywhere, because the most surprising thing was that there was no CCTV footage recorded from that night. It's safe to say, we didn't stay around at the motel after that. We left for home soon after speaking to the police, with the fear of being followed and watched making us paranoid. The events of that night have stayed with me ever since, and it's a shame when I look back at my brother's wedding that I always think of that night. It's needless to say that I am always cautious as to who is on the road now, as you truly don't know who is out there and what their motivation is. It only takes provoking the wrong person to come back to haunt you. I mean, what psycho kills and pins an animal to a door? So please, think twice when out on the road. You just don't know who you might come across. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed these terrifying encounters. Comment and let us know what you would have done in these situations. And drop a like and share. It really helps the channel out. If you're enjoying the horror and haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We have plenty more terrifying content on the way that we look forward to bringing you. So, until next time, remember, fear lies within.